one for Put It Out There TV, also known as p.i.o.t TV, hashtag Put It Out There TV. Please make sure you utilize those hashtags whenever you are sharing our content all over the World Wide Web. What I'm doing now, just to make sure I don't look crazy to you guys, is I'm recording a video on my computer and I'm broadcasting live currently on the Put It Out There TV Facebook page. Sorry. So I'll be kind of looking up and down and making sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. All right. So this topic this morning, what we're going to be talking about, and I know some of you probably viewing this, if you're not viewing it live, you're probably waking up or whatever the case. We're going to talk about society. You know, a lot of times we grow up and we come through life and we always hear the term or the phrase, he's paid his debt to society. And I don't really think we question and ask what society is. We don't inquire as to what exactly is society. Let me give you an example. So a lot of you guys, you always hear me talking about corporations. Some of you might be tired of hearing me talking about it. But it's just the facts of what it is, that a lot of times these people portray themselves to be government when they're corporations. As you can see, we are, and if you don't see, basically you should remember the time where they had those movies that would come out in the late 80s, early 90s, things that around those time frames. And they always had those movies to where there was a plot to where corporations were somehow running the world. You know, at the end of the day, corporations end up running the world. Same thing with the movie Running Man. If you ever seen the movie Running Man starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, you saw that at the end of the day, justice was being carried out on the show, The Running Man, via the show. That is how people were sentenced, was the show. And the show, of course, was a corporation, right? Or a corporation doing business as the Running Man, that monetized the whole, they monetized the whole system as far as justice. So justice was monetized. Now, strangely enough, if you do just a little bit of research, you will see yourself that even in the United States Code, they say that all crime is commercial. Now, I should have had that pulled up because I'm doing something on the screen here, and I may pull that up actually. But all crimes are commercial. So let's see if we can actually pull that up here. U.S. Code, all crimes are commercial. Made sure I restarted this computer to make sure things move as smoothly as possible. So we're gonna see if we can pull this up. But anyway, all crimes are commercial. So all crimes are commercial. I'm trying to see if we can actually find this. Crimes and criminal procedure. Crimes and criminal procedure. I'll have to find it. But there's a portion in the U.S. Code to where it says all crimes are commercial. If I'm incorrect, somebody can correct me on that in the comments. So they've monetized justice. With that being said, they've actually monetized justice as we speak, which is why there's crimes, there's fines, fees, court fees, legal fees, things of this nature. They've monetized the whole thing. So that leads me to back to the corporations, because as I've said in plenty of videos that I've done before, corporations don't incorporate unless it's for business, commerce. It's just really just as simple as that. Offering a service to the public, whatever that service may be. All right. So back to society. Let's talk about society. That is the topic of this video. All right. As I said before, we always hear he's paid his debt to society. That's what we hear. Right. So what I have here is a police report, right? And in the police report, it says that the victim is society. So that's why I said, let's talk about society. Who is society? What is society? Now, in a court of law, this document, and we don't have to go into the details of the police report. We just want to go, the victim is society. In a court of law, or what alleges to be a court of law, this would be used in testimony against an alleged defendant, right? And the victim, again, I say, is society. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to go into a law dictionary. We have no choice but to go into a law dictionary, because this document is what would be used in what's alleged to be a court of law, which is really a corporation feigning to be a court of law. But we'll get into that probably at a later time or on another video. All right. So what we're going to do is go into this law dictionary here, and we are going to look up society. Okay. All right, so let me get this screen out of the way here. So let's go back up here. Now, I know you guys that's on the live broadcast, you will not be able to see this, but if you want to rewatch this video when it's re-uploaded, you will be able to do that. All right. All right, so let me see here. Here we go. Society. This is Black's Law Dictionary, 5th edition. Society, an association or company of persons, generally unincorporated, united together by mutual consent in order to deliberate, determine, and act jointly for some common purpose. Excuse me. In the wider sense, the community or public, the people in general. Now, this is Gilmore versus Stone. This is the United States Supreme Court. So they're saying society is the public or the people in general. But before that, it goes on to say a company of persons. So we know that a company is a corporation, right? We also know that persons, see, an individual or an organization, individual man or woman or child, as a general rule, a corporation. All right. So a majority of the time in law specific, unless they clarify it, a person is a corporation. So I want to make that clear. So right off the bat, we're seeing here that society is an association or a company of persons. We know a company is a corporation. Let's go into another definition of society so we can back this up. Let's go. This is 2 different law dictionaries. This is, I believe this is Ballantyne's Law Dictionary, 3rd edition. It says society, the community, the people of the community, or considered as a whole in a state or nation, the associates which one has, a voluntary association, sometimes a corporation. All right. So you have multiple definitions for society, but the one that we want to focus on is corporation. We want to focus on corporation. All right. Now, the reason why we want to focus on corporation is because what happens is when they allege that a flesh and blood man or woman has committed a crime, what happens is they will remove the flesh and blood victim, if there is even one that actually existed, and the actual victim and the new victim becomes society. Now, society, as we can see here, is not a flesh and blood man or woman, organic man or woman. Now, how do we know that? Let's give you a good example of the action of this definition about the people or the society being a corporation, a company. All right. So what we're getting ready to do now is, let me see here. What we're getting ready to do now is we're getting ready to go into the charter for the City of Elyria Municipal Corporation. You hear me? City of Elyria Municipal Corporation. All right. Let's see. So this is the charter. All right. This is the charter for the Municipal Corporation City of Elyria. This is the charter. Now, before we get into that, what we need to do is we actually need to pull up the definition of charter. That's exactly what we need to do. Actually, you know what? Hold on. I don't want to disturb that. Yeah, I got the C's up already. Okay, so let's find charter. And before we move on to charter, let's make sure that we pay attention to this definition of corporation while we're here. An artificial being, invisible, intangible, and existing only in contemplation of law. An association of persons to whom the sovereign has offered a franchise to become an artificial juridical person with the name of its own, under which they can act and contract and sue and be sued, and who have either accepted the offer and effected a corporation in substantial conformity with its terms, in which case a corporation de jure has been constituted, or have done acts indicating a purpose to accept such offer. So as we can see here, a corporation is a person. I want to make that clear. A corporation is a person. We've also seen so far that society is a corporation. So are you seeing the correlation, right? Society is a corporation and a corporation is a person. So what they are doing is they are what they call in language arts, and this is what they call in language arts personification. So they're taking an artificial person, not flesh and blood, artificial being, and they're personifying it and giving it the rights, or what would appear to be the rights, of a flesh and blood man and woman. All right, so we can see a corporation is an artificial juridical person if created under the authority of the state. Okay, so let's go to the charter. So it says here, move this out of the way. So it says here, the inhabitants of the city of Elyria, Ohio, within the corporate limits are established at the time of the adoption of this charter, or as thereafter established in the manner provided by law, shall be and continue to be a municipal corporation under the name of the City of Elyria. The corporation will hereinafter be referred to as the city. All right, let's read that again. It says the inhabitants, the inhabitants. So when you hear the word inhabitants, you would think um, flesh and blood, right? Now, in law, an inhabitant can be a flesh and blood man, woman, child. But also at law, an inhabitant can be a corporation, a artificial person. So what happens is, even if it says inhabitant here and it means flesh and blood persons, flesh and blood man and woman, check out what it's saying. So let's say this inhabitants right here means flesh and blood man and woman. The inhabitants, the flesh and blood man and women, men and women of the city of Elyria, Ohio, within the corporate limits as established at the time of the adoption of this charter, or as thereafter established in the manner provided by law, shall be and continue to be a municipal corporation under the name of the city of Elyria. The corporation will hereinafter be referred to as the city. So what this is showing is that they've converted you from a flesh and blood man and woman over into a corporation. Now, what people have to comprehend is that at law, a corporation does not have more rights than a flesh and blood man and or woman. It does not, because it is a creation thereof. These corporations are thoughts of flesh and blood men and women. You see what I mean? Yet they will prance out a corporation in front of you as a person, which it is, in essence, sue you. So again, they're saying on this police report a crime has been committed, and they're saying the victim is society. We've seen that society is a company, a corporation, an association, which is an artificial person that truly only exists on paper. Now, what's so dangerous about this inhabitants? And now let me show you what I mean, how they play with these words, language arts, as I like to call it, word sorcery, witchcraft. Let's look up this word inhabitant. Let me show you. Okay, so inhabitant, a word impossible of precise and inclusive definition. This is a law dictionary that we're looking at. I want to make this clear. This is a law dictionary that lawyers would use in law school. This is a law dictionary that a judge or a magistrate may have in his chambers. This is a legit book. Ballantyne's, Bouvier, Black's Law, I got all of them here. So it says inhabitant. See how I gave you two definitions before? It could be a flesh and blood man and woman, or an artificial person, which is a corporation. It says a word impossible of precise and inclusive definition, since the meaning varies according to the context in which it appears, particularly where the matter is one of determining the legislative intent in a statute. 25, American Jurisprudence, second edition. All right, I don't know what they mean by this here. So it says narrowly, this dom, I have to find this literature. It says narrowly a dweller or householder. Now, this is what you have to comprehend about a household. A household is a place where servants are held. Okay, so let's get let's go to etymology of household here real fast. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Edam online. We're going to look up household. We're going to look up household. Members of a family collectively, including servants, also furniture and articles belonging to a house, pertaining to house and family, domestic. Now, that sounds like that makes sense. Like, yeah, I have a household, right? No. Now we must look up family. See, family, servants of a household, family servants, domestic, collectively, the servants in a household, thus also members of a household, the estate, property, the household, including relatives and servants, abstract, noun formed, famulus, servant, slave. So a household is where families dwell. Those are slaves. See, a household is a dwelling for slaves, for servants. You see where you got to see where I'm going. You got to see where I'm going with this. Okay? So let's get back here. So let's get back, all right, to inhabitant. Narrowly a dweller or householder, whether he be a tenant in fee simple, a life tenant, a tenant for years, a tenant at will, or one who has no interest in the premises other than that it is his habitation and dwelling. Now, see, this is what you have to understand, because now y'all thinking, well, wait a minute. I'm a tenant. I'm a tenant. I'm a tenant at will. Yes. Why do you think that the person, the flesh and blood man and woman, or the person, the corporation they may have established representing them, the company representing them, doing business for them, why do you think they're called the landlord? Lords have servants. You see what I mean? You see where I'm going. So essentially what I'm trying to say, if you don't see where I'm going, which I'm still going to get to my point, is that you've been converted into a corporation in order to put you into position so that other corporations can deal with you how they see fit. All right. Do you know how many people have served time, went to prison, had to fork out money for crimes against a corporation? Now, when it comes to corporations, of course, if the corporation is saying that you've injured it, then what that means is that corporation can only do one thing because it doesn't have a flesh and blood body. That means that it can only have the option of presenting the contract to show how you injured it. Because in reality, that's the only way one of the few ways that you can injure a corporation. You can steal from a corporation. That's violation of a contract, some shape, form, or fashion. You can violate a contract by not fulfilling certain things on a contract with a corporation. But the thing is, when that corporation is saying that it's been injured, the only thing that it can do is present a contract. It's just as simple as that. All right? It can only present a contract. It's just as simple as that. All right? So, society is this artificial person that lacks a body. No eyes, no mouth, no ears, no heart. It can't urinate. It can't defecate. It can't go to sleep. It can't wake up. And see, society, what we have to comprehend, has a bunch of departments across the so-called United States, because that's what all police corporations do. They say that their job is to service society. So what you have is you have one corporation servicing another corporation. And at the end of the day, when they take you in for these crimes and they say that the victim is society, what they're doing, in fact, is suing you, is what they're doing. They're suing you. Now, the question to ask is, are you a flesh and blood man and woman? And do you feel that with you coming through the birth canal or maybe even a C-section, but coming through a woman, flesh and blood woman, does it make sense to you that Kmart would damn near have the same rights as you? It's my cat's over here acting crazy. Does that make sense to you? See, we got to get a proper perspective of what's going on. What's going on here is that you have corporations literally running the world now. You have corporations that cannot deal with you unless you contract yourself into saying you're a corporation. Why? Because by law, and you can look this up yourself, because there's some stuff that I need for y'all to look up yourself before I just present it all to you. Because by law, corporations can only deal with corporations. So what they do is they pull you into this colorable paper jurisdiction in order to enforce an authority on you that they may not necessarily have, except they're saying that there's a contract with you somewhere that states that you're giving this corporation authority over you. Now, when you do your research on these corporations, what you have to comprehend is that they are private. They're private, for profit. You can never find out who owns them. They'll convert you into a corporation, yet you're not getting a salary. You don't get a salary from the municipal corporation. And they make like you have all these duties to them somehow. Let's go into a United States Supreme Court case law. And let's see what the United States Supreme Court says. Now, the reason why this is important that we're going into this United States Supreme Court case law is because this is the same entity that gave the head nod and said that same-sex marriage is a right? They said it was a law. So when the Supreme Court makes a decision, I apologize, all the inferior courts, that's the municipal courts, the courts of common pleas, right? The district courts, the federal courts, right? They have to go with that Supreme Court case law. The police have to go with the Supreme Court case law. The judges, the sheriffs, the highway patrol, the ranger, the park ranger, the convenience store, Walmart, Kmart. And you want to know why that is? That's because the Constitution for the United States of America, the Republic, is the supreme law of the land. And they're all subject to that. But what they've done is found a way to get you to contract out of your rights, is what they've done. And they've converted you into an artificial person. And you're a tenant, you're a property. See, this is what people don't comprehend. This is why you still have property taxes when you allegedly own your property, because you still are a tenant. But what I need people to focus on as I go along, and I think about this more than anything, and I've said this a little earlier in the video, is that you've had whole generations of people who look like me who've been thrown in prison houses for transgressions against an entity that does not even have flesh and blood. Something you can't cut, stab, shoot, punch in the nose, make it bleed. Something that doesn't have a menstrual cycle. You have whole generations that have been thrown into prison houses over these tricky contracts that they never present, but they move forward and push forward on us as if they have. I remember one time I was standing in what was feigning to be a courthouse, a courtroom. And I was telling the magistrate, I said, well, you know, I comprehend, I don't understand. I comprehend that what you're saying may go for those who have a contract with the municipal corporation, City of Elyria, but we don't have a contract. And I've asked you to present it and place it on the public record several times via writ of discovery, and it hasn't been placed. And I am not a artificial person. I'm not a corporation. He looked at me and said, man, everybody's a corporation today. I didn't comprehend what he was saying. I didn't. But this one magistrate, right, got to give it to him because he was respecting what I was doing. He was dropping me keys. So when he said everybody's a corporation these days, I didn't necessarily get how he was saying it. And what happens is the cities, municipal corporations, they are converting the people over into artificial persons, into corporations. And then what they do is they have you sign all this tricky paperwork, you thinking you're saying that it's you, and you're saying it's a corporation. So we got to be aware of this. So essentially, at the end of the day, we've had people who are catching charges for victimless crimes because society is just a corporation. You don't believe me? Look it up, because we've already gone through it. We've already gone through the law dictionary and seen that society is a company of persons. We've already went through it and saw that inhabitant is a corporation as well. We've already went and saw. We went to the City of Elyria Municipal Corporation. We went to their charter and we saw that they've converted flesh and blood men and women into corporations. And what's so crazy is this is how this stuff is so tricky. You have it in certain places across the so-called United States to where people have gone to court and sued to have it to where corporations do not have the rights of flesh and blood, men and women. And this is why you see me always talking about this 14th Amendment stuff, because what they've done essentially for so-called black people is they've taken them and they've placed them under the 14th Amendment with these corporations. These corporations get their rights and their privileges via the 14th Amendment. I know there was some case law I was supposed to have went into, and I had got distracted. Yeah, I had got distracted. But that's all I wanted to chop it up with y'all about society, get you a proper perspective of what society is, let you kind of see how everything has been converted over into a corporation, including you, including your babies, and they presume, or I guess off the way that we carry out our duties, the way that we govern ourselves, they presume that you are a part of the corporation. It's weird. But I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, y'all. Peace and love. Appreciate y'all rocking with us. Make sure you go ahead and register for an account on Put It Out There TV at putitouttheretv.com/register. The link will be in the description of this video. The link is also in the caption for this broadcast. Y'all get with me. You never know when they're going to shut me down for giving y'all this type of information. So if you like it, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and register on that site for sure. Because, you know, I've experienced being censored and shut down on this internet stuff. So I got my own platform, putitouttheretv.com, news, media, distribution, broadcasting, radio, all of that stuff over there. We growing slowly but surely. So make sure you get over there, set yourself up an account. All right, I'm up out of here. Peace and love.